It's time for Recruiting Better with me, Ben Browning. For ambitious recruiters, it's never been tougher to get seen as a trusted advisor and true partner to your clients and candidates. Join me each week as I address your challenges head on, answering questions from recruitment consultants and business leaders, and introducing experts you can learn from whether you're looking to scale your billings or your business. So if you're looking for inspiration or insights to help you make more placements, win more new business, find more candidates, or simply replace long hours with smart moves, then stay tuned. Recruiting Better has got you covered.
Hi everybody, and I'm really pleased to welcome Jon Brooks to the show today. Jon is recruitment's Mr. Value, the self-styled pricing guru to the recruitment stars. He makes sure you get paid fairly for everything you do, which means charging more and making your clients happier about what they're paying. In a previous incarnation, Jon was head of marketing at Reed before moving into product and pricing. He also played a key role in the recruitment productization of their exec search business. And since then, he spent 3 years showing recruiters how to get paid more and leaving their clients happier about it. In short, Jon is recruitment industry's most experienced and knowledgeable pricing expert, and is a secret weapon to every single one of the businesses he shares his knowledge with. Hey, Jon, great to see you.
Hey, Ben, great to be here.
Hey, wait a minute. Have you had a haircut?
Oh, thanks for noticing.
Which barber did you go to?
So I know you're trolling me. I sent an email last week about the added value that barber shops can bring. And the answer is, the email was about a hot towel and how it's a bit of added luxury to have a hot towel on your face after a good haircut. I didn't go to the hot towel barber. I went to the one that I have a slightly better relationship with. So there you go. It's what people value and when they want it.
Absolutely. So many great lessons that you share through your content, and I love your analogies. We might talk about some of those later in the show as well. But look, we've known each other for a while, and it's a real thrill to have you on the show. You always bring so much value, whether our conversations online or offline. And I've seen through the public speaking that you do. I think you're at the Recruitment Expo coming up, the LinkedIn content that you share, the emails that you mentioned that you send out to people every single week. It really seems to feel like the industry is shifting in the way they consider value and pricing, the way that recruiters think about the value they create for clients and the fees that they charge. Seems like you're on a mission.
Yeah, I guess so. That sounds like a very American thing to say. Here's my mission to change the world. But if you're going to call it a mission, it's about getting recruiters to value what they do. And what does that look like? It means when they value what they do, they get paid better. And that's in terms of the fees going up, but also perhaps not working so contingently, so much multi-agency. So as you say, having a better experience with a client, as well as getting that client happy to pay you more for what you do.
Absolutely. And look, your business is called The Value Advantage, right? So it's all about, and the reason that we connected in the first place is that all of your messaging is so strongly resonant around this idea of it's not just about charging more, but it's about creating value for your clients and actually even communicating the value that recruiters already create for clients, which is a really big passion of mine. And it sounds as though, and it feels as though very often recruiters struggle to really get their value across, really communicate the true value that they create for clients. And I wonder if you've got any thoughts as to why that might be or how that comes about.
I think there's a real, the first challenge is recruiters lacking confidence in their value. Now, why does that happen? I think it's because we're beaten down all the time. Yeah. From day one in the recruitment industry, the minute you get on the phone, clients are saying, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't value what you do. What's your price? So we don't have a feedback loop that tells us we're valuable. That doesn't mean we aren't valuable. The challenge there is clients end up saying, oh, recruiters, you're all the same. And we internalize that. And I now talk to recruitment leaders and they say, oh, aren't we all just the same? And Absolutely not. You said a minute ago, recruiters add loads of value. It's a high value service at the best of times, and there are some great recruiters out there. But we've internalized this horrible idea that we're all the same, that we're commoditized. So it's not the case, but we need to be more confident in the great service we do already provide.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more with that. I think that's some really, really great sentiment. And look, we want to make this show really tactical as well and really applicable. Recruiting better is all about helping recruiters develop the insight and the inspiration they need to elevate the way that they approach their work. And I just wondered whether you could maybe share any things that you recommend recruiters can change right now to maybe get a better understanding of exactly how valuable they are.
Yeah, I posted about this recently on LinkedIn, but pick up any kind of famous CEO's book on business, so their autobiography or their how I made it or how I run my business. So whether that's the guys who set up Google or Richard Branson churns out a book a year on his businesses, any of those people. And near the start of the book, they will say the most important thing, and often the hardest thing to do, is get the right people in my business, because the right people are what makes my business, and they are the differentiator. So you ask the most successful CEOs in the world what's important to them, and it's people, and it's finding people, and it's recruiting people. Clearly, that is what we do. So first of all, pick up any book and just remind yourself, we are providing a really valuable service. The second thing I'd say, which is even more practical, a bit sharper end of the process, is in terms of having confidence in what you do, think about how often you walk away from a bad deal. And when I ask consultants, they often say, I don't really walk away very much. Now that really puts you on the back foot in terms of negotiation and in terms of showing your value to your client, right? If your client could say, drop your fees again, and you're not willing to say, I don't work to that way, either in terms of the fee or in terms of the setup, what they're willing to give to you, what they expect from you. If you are grateful for that job, even if it's a bad job, you are showing a complete lack of confidence and completely devaluing the good service you provide. So you don't have to do it all the time, but just think, are there occasions where I could walk away? Now, every time you do walk away, you boost your confidence a little bit. And I talked about how we don't have enough feedback loops. What you'll find is sometimes clients will come back to you and say, oh, okay, I quite like what you do. Would you work with me if I paid you a bit more? Or so, wait a week, see if they come back. And if they do, that will boost your confidence in your value.
That's awesome. Thank you, John. That's really good tactical advice, which we love here. I think the couple of things I just want to reflect on. So you mentioned picking up those books and listening to or hearing from famous CEOs and business leaders who say the talent is their primary driver, and getting the right people in their business is absolutely critical. And I was sharing this with some consultants last week, actually. What you were saying really resonated with me, because there are 3 questions that I asked them that there was only really one answer to. First of all, I said, is it easy, without the right data, without enough data, to readily understand exactly who is going to go on to be a success in any given role at any given moment for any given business? I don't believe it is. I believe that's very difficult. Second question was, is it easy to accurately and honestly reflect why a job is a really good job to apply for or work in, set against all the competition that there is in the market, and thinking about all of the other challenges and all the other people trying to hire for that skill set? And again, I don't think it is easy to create that compelling, accurate, honest, and clear story. And the third question was, is it easy to judge people? Is it easy to judge people accurately and fairly quickly in an interview setup? So we're quite good at judging people, maybe too good, but actually, judging people accurately, fairly, and quickly within an interview setup is particularly difficult. And that for me is potentially a source of real recruiter value, is where you're able to support your clients in better resolving those three questions or coming up with better answers to those three questions.
I really like that. Yeah.
Thanks. And it's also interesting that you go on to talk about negotiation. I've got some questions from the community, and one of the questions later on is a little bit about negotiation. But the first question I had is from a consultant called Sarah, who said, look, in a competitive market, how can she justify charging more than her competition?
Well, thanks for the question, Sarah. And I love one word particularly in that question, which is justify. You have to justify your value. If you can't justify your value, you certainly won't be confident in your own value, and your client isn't going to do the hard work to try and find out why they value you. And absolutely, I'm a big believer in recruitment agencies charging different prices. I hate the very common behavior of, oh, well, we'll just match everyone else. We have no idea what other people are going through, why they're charging what they're charging, and whether they're as good as us or not. And actually connected to that, so many people who've set up their own recruitment businesses say, I want to do things differently. I want to improve things. I want to create more value in the system. I don't want to do things the old way. But they don't charge more. So again, if a client is using price as a proxy for measuring value, which is a very common thing for people to do, they go, okay, you say you're different, you're better, you're doing things amazingly, and yet your service costs the same as everyone else. Something doesn't add up there. So that's one way to justify. The key answer I'd say to Sarah is you need to think about what the client values. The mistake a lot of recruiters make is they think about what's important to them. Whereas what we need to do is say, okay, what's important to my clients? What's going to excite them? And again, it helps that CEOs have written some of these things down. LinkedIn is a brilliant source for listening to hiring managers in your industry and hearing what they're complaining about and hearing their challenges and hearing what they want. And of course, to some level, you can ask them, not in the pitch, not at the point of negotiation, but you dive in, you go deeper, you probe some of their challenges and their pain points, and you connect them to the service and therefore the value you create. The more you can do that, the more you can justify your fee or charging more in this case.
Some really, really good advice there. And I think that final point in particular about understanding those pain points before you walk into a negotiation, or understanding what your client really values before you start to even consider what the right price may be for them to pay is, or what the right value for you to put on your service is, I should say, maybe rather than thinking about changing your price, is thinking about elevating your value within that conversation. That's really powerful stuff. And it reminds me of a piece around negotiation that a guy called Todd Caponi talks about, and Todd will be coming on the show in a few weeks' time, so I'll be talking about negotiation very specifically with him too. And another question from the audience was this, and I think it's a really interesting one. It's I guess pricing and fees and value and investment is a really hot topic at the moment. It's a very difficult one. Sally wants to know whether now is the right time to think about increasing her prices. She's conscious of the economic climate and a potential slowdown, and she's worried that maybe her clients might expect her fees to go down rather than up, even though actually finding talent for them is getting more difficult. So what kind of thoughts or reflections might you have for Sally in that situation?
Yeah, and another good question. Just picking up on that last point, finding talent is more difficult for us, but remember, that's not going to interest them. It's how finding talent, it's their challenges around finding talent that is what we need to focus on. Yeah, the economic context has changed massively. Pretty much from COVID would have been up, down, and up again. Most recruiters should increase their prices. And there's a caveat there, actually. Or they should be decreasing the amount they negotiate. So you have your rate on your terms of business, but actually, what is your average rate? Are you ever charging that rate? Many recruiters aren't. Many have written a rate down in their terms of business, and then they have a completely different reality when it comes to their clients. So there's two types of price increase there. You could change your terms of business and the rates in it, or you could just be more confident and stronger in saying, no, I'm not going to discount as much as I have in the past. So worth thinking about there. I appreciate the mood music from the economy. On the one hand is cost of living, tightening economy, maybe budgets tightening. However, I think there's a positive to it, which is we are being surrounded, maybe bombarded by messages saying, our prices are going up. Yeah, pasta has doubled in the last year. My mobile phone, and that's fine. That makes sense to me. Raw goods, supply chains, fine. Pasta is going to cost more. And that makes sense. But that mood music is stuff goes up. So we can potentially join that. And my second example, I think, is someone doing this. My mobile phone provider texted me saying some kind of nonsense introduction, and then your price will be going up by £3.15 per month from next month. Now their raw goods haven't gone up. They don't have supply chains. I don't think they've justified that very well. But in my mind, I was like, oh, everything goes up at the moment. Of course, I'm not happy with that. And of course, your clients will not want to see your prices go up. Of course, your clients will want to see your prices go down. But that's not up to them. If we can make sure they value what we do and that they want to come back and they want to work with us, then again, we can be stronger at saying, well, slightly ignore them saying, well, I'd love your prices to go down. It's like, well, no, let's focus on value. Let's focus on service. And these are the prices you would have to pay.
I love that. And it really brings to mind for me this idea of you can go to your clients perhaps and say, our prices are going up this year. And then actually within that, what we'd also like to do is a service review with you to make sure you're getting as much value out of our service as possible. So you're combining this kind of, yes, prices are going up. We're not just kind of putting them up arbitrarily. We're also going to have a conversation with you about the value that you're getting out of that service to fine tune it, to make sure that even if we can't increase the value by the amount that we increase the price, we're at least kind of keeping both things on the table or in conversation with each other. Is that the kind of approach that you'd advocate?
I think there's absolutely. I think there's such a good point within that, which is never only talk about price. Whenever price is part of the conversation, talk about other things around that. Talk about service, talk about value, talk about their pain points. If the only thing on the table is price, what is the client going to do? Push down. Clients are often in a stronger position than us when it comes to negotiation, so we're not likely to win that battle. However, if we're talking about service reviews, if we're talking about value, if we're spotting challenges, we can dilute that focus on price, which is the last thing we want to talk about, and bring other things, put other things on the table. So absolutely.
Standing out in your sector is becoming harder than ever. Lots of people are making noise, saturating the market with the same old droll tones. So if you want to stand out, it's time to start a podcast. Yes, there's loads of podcasts out there, but how many of them are actually in your niche? Do any of them speak to your perspective on the market? I didn't think so. Podcasting not only sets you apart as an innovative thinker in your market, it is great content for repurposing. Here at SearchStat, we help you become the voice of your industry. We can stretch your content and turn it into a content goldmine, leveling up your personal brands and recruitment marketing in the process. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, to find out more, head over to searchstat.co.uk/podcasts.
So look, I've got another question here for you too, which comes from a business leader called Alex. And Alex is asking what he can do to increase fees with clients they won last year. So he won quite a bit of business last year. I think many recruiters did. But in order to do that, he's conscious he compromised on some rates. And maybe now he feels like he's given away too much. I just wonder whether there's anything to add from the previous question or any other thoughts you have on anything that consultants like Alex can do to increase their rates, increase their fees with clients that they brought on in the past.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is learn from your mistakes. Alex, I'm afraid what you've done there is you've wanted to prove your value, but what you've done is you've proved that you could deliver a good service at a low price. So you're not in a great position. So certainly going forward, think about being stronger, being more disciplined on not dropping rates. And there's a whole other answer to that, but we won't cover that today. Yeah, once you've got clients on, you might have had clients on for 10 years, you might have picked them up last year. How do you shift those prices? We talked about justification already. In terms of the tactics of putting your price up, there's a couple of really strong ones. The first is delay the pain. So actually, I talked about my mobile phone company saying, oh, it's happening next month. That's a little bit smart. And to be honest, I slightly ignored it. It's a fairly small number in the grand scheme of things. I've got bigger things to worry about. But I think what could have been even smarter is if they said, your phone bill will be going up in 4 months' time. So I've still got the pain of, I'm going to have to pay more, but it's so delayed. A lot of people know about delayed gratification. This is the flip side of that. You just say, okay, well, it's painful. I should do something about it. Oh, it's 4 months away. I'll worry about it later. So that pain goes up high and then just disappears almost. So if you are going to talk to your clients about putting the rates up, talk about putting your price up, and then add that benefit to them of saying, in 6 months' time, in 3 months' time. If you tie it to a service review, even better. The other thing you can do is tell them what they should be paying and then sweeten the deal for them. So for example, you might say, look, any new clients I work with have to work at X. I'm doing well, I'm busy, it's a tough market, there's a lot of people asking for my services, and I do a good job. Any new clients I take on. And you say, ideally, the number that's on your terms. And the client is, in Alex's case, is, I assume, a fair bit below that. So you say, look, I'm taking on new clients at my terms rate. Now I'm going to have to increase the prices for you, but because we've worked together, I want to reflect that relationship. I'm not going to move you all the way up. So again, you've introduced the pain and then you've lessened it.
Nice.
So you can move them up. Once they get used to being moved up, you can start using these tactics again and again. So you can say, and in another 12 months, we'll review and your price will have to go up again, for example. So if you get this right, it can work really well. You also get a nice feedback loop from the client. Some clients will say, yeah, fair enough. But you go, great. I'm scheduling one in for 6 months. I'll just kick off and be much better in negotiation. You say, okay, maybe I'm going to decide not to push so hard on price with them. Yeah, that's personal choice. But using those tactics will certainly help.
They're great. They're really good ideas. And I think, they apply in recruitment and outside of recruitment as well. I've always enjoyed that the analogies that you bring through your content kind of pull from experiences. And, you've talked about the price of pasta and the price of your mobile phone bill and books by Richard Branson and all the rest of it. And it's really clear to me that, the strategy you're talking about here are true of human behavior and human psychology that recruiters can kind of, I don't like the word hack, but certainly apply. And to me, they feel really intuitive. I can see a lot of businesses over the next few weeks getting messages from recruiters letting them know that their prices are going to be going up in 6 months.
Good.
Really nice strategic advice there.
We are surrounded by pricing. Yeah, how many things do we buy as consumers every day? How many things we advertised every day? And then for those of you who are business leaders, business owners, how many things are you buying? How many invoices are you getting in? So yeah, we can spot those. So that's why I love the analogy so much. We experience this and we can take those experiences and think, how can we apply them to our situation?
Yeah. And look, you're a real master at that. You're a real master at taking things that are going on in the world and bringing them back to how it helps us understand pricing. In fact, a while ago, you shared a video with me of a guy with a fork. And he held up the fork and he said, "This is a fork." Why did you share that video with me, Jon?
It's such a nice way of looking at confidence and particularly delivery of your price. So unsurprisingly, recruitment consultants, as everyone is, including me, and I'm a pricing expert, but everyone is a bit nervous about telling potential clients about their price. The fork experiment, I don't have my fork prop next to me, but I'll use a pen. So holding up a fork and saying, "This is a fork," holding up a pen and saying, "This is a pen." Those are facts. Now think about how you talk about your prices. I'll stereotype a less than confident recruiter. They might say, "Okay, great. It'd be lovely to work with you. Our standard rate is 20%, but obviously we're keen to work with you. And what's your budget and what can you do?" There's no confidence. There's no fact. There's no belief that 20% is factually the price. So we are leading our clients. No client in their right mind is going to say, "Great, I'll pay you the fee you've just told me." They're going to say, "You are leaving every door open for me to choose a different price." So of course our fees get discounted heavily. So let's apply the fork exercise to our prices. Our price is a fact. So if our price for a piece of business is 20% of salary, we say the price for this work is 20% of salary. Kyle, this is a pen. Exactly the same tone of voice. It's a fact. The client can, of course, negotiate, but we haven't opened any doors for them.
I love that. It's so powerful, right? Stating your price as a fact rather than a variable, rather than a flexible option. That's it, isn't it? We often state our price as though it's something we're embarrassed about or something that is an option. When you can say to your client, even changing the language slightly, and certainly I've done this for a good portion of my business, is saying that the investment that we ask for this is whatever it is, right? The investment you'll need to make here. And actually sometimes even framing that pricing by saying, this is possibly more expensive than you considered. There's maybe more of an expensive investment than you've considered making before. Kind of giving some context, giving some framing for that. So your client's kind of expecting, "Oh my God, how much more is it going to be?" And then you say, the investment for this piece of work is going to be 20% of base salary. Well, actually, that's not that different from what we normally pay anyway.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. But again, it's it's showing confidence that you know what you're doing. You're confident that you've got enough value to use that kind of reassuringly expensive line that Stella Artois used. You say, yeah, it's expensive. I know that. There's a reason for it. And this is a fork.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Jon. I just want to take a moment to wrap up the session and play back some of the lessons that I've taken from this show and make sure that I've got the best of value that you've been able to share today. So the first thing that really springs to mind for me is the point that you made around understanding your value as a recruiter, looking at how important recruitment is across the world of business, and also thinking about how valuable your services and your the way you approach recruitment is to your clients. The second thing that you mentioned that really resonated for me, and in particular as a bit of a crystallized moment, was never talk about price without talking about value, never talk about price in isolation. Always think about that relationship between value and price. And the third thing was going into negotiation with real confidence, going into negotiation with real assertion and assertiveness to be able to say, for example, we're going to be putting up our prices in 6 months, or our prices are going up to X in 6 months. Or also thinking about going back to your clients and saying, this is the price that we're charging new clients. We're going to be increasing your price, but we want to reflect your loyalty. And so this is where that kind of lands. Those feel like three really effective messages and takeaways and actionable points from today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or share, or that you think recruiters could be implementing in the short term?
I think, no, those are three of the big things you can do. And as you say, they are short term, they are implementable, and the payoff will be pretty big and measurable. Do measure them. Just to remind people, by doing those things, you will come across as more confident in your price. So confidence is key. Confidence in your price because you're confident in your value. So that confidence is key. And don't forget the mantra. It's about what the client values. So when you're thinking, what do I talk about in terms of value? Put yourself in their shoes. Make sure you know they value it.
Thank you, Jon. Jon, that's really great. Look, for everybody listening, you're probably thinking that this episode has been packed full of value and giving you lots of stuff to go away and crack on. But what if I told you could get even more value from Jon delivered directly into your inbox at least a couple of times a week? That's right, Jon writes emails. We've referred to a couple of the analogies and stories that he shares to help recruiters get paid more. To sign up, head to the Value Advantage website or connect with Jon on LinkedIn. The links, as always, are in the show notes.